Okay, so, yan. So for the elasticity of demand, this is just a behavior ng ating mga tawag natin dito, consumers sa changes na nangyayari sa ating kapaligiran. Pero, if we say price elasticity of demand, then of course, we are dealing with the changes or the behavior of the people or the consumer in terms of the changes ng prices. Kasi alam natin, pag consumers, pag nagre-react ang mga yan, pagdating sa pagtaas at saka pagbaba ng presyo. Pag ako consumer, I would prefer a lower price compared to a higher price. Kabaliktaran naman sa ating mga producers yon, di ba? So in this case, so what would be the possible reaction or behavior of the consumers if there are changes when it comes to the prices itself? So simply, basahin nyo na lang mga yan. Yan. So, the elasticity of demand, it is just a measure of the changes in the price and then the quantity demand. So, pag makikita ninyo dito sa ating formula dito, okay? Look at this one at saka yung ano yung mga mistakes na nagawa natin sa ating mga activities. Look at this. The numerator will always be the quantity and then the denominator will always be the price. But the changes in here, it depends kung ano yung klase na formula na ginamit nyo. Kasi dalawa yung formula na nai-introduce sa inyo. Ito yung arc elasticity at saka yung isa is yung endpoint or yung tinatawag nating point elasticity. Okay, so when it comes to solving this one, magkaparehas pa rin ang elasticity nila, pero magkakaiba lang sila ng mga values. Pwedeng, ang result ng isa is nasa 0.55, pero yung isa naman is nasa 0.57. But they're still the same. Kahit anong formula ang gamitin natin sa dalawang yon. Pero in terms of the elasticity of demand, merong mga iba't ibang factors na pwedeng makapag-affect sa inyong behavior. Siyempre, as a consumer, what are those? Andyan po yung mga, andito po sila. First is we have the substitute goods. Siyempre, the higher the prices of the other, ang gagawin ng mga consumers, maghahanap sila ng ka-substitute, yung mas mababa yung presyo. Another one is, meron naman tayong necessities at saka luxuries. People nowadays are going away with the necessities and they are preferring the luxuries. Why? Because, ask yourself, bakit kaya mas gusto nyo yung mga luxuries kumpara sa ating mga necessities? Kasi sabi nila necessity, for example, sa clothes. It's okay to have just a pair of clothes, but people would prefer to buy more. So that is the reason why people are actually going away with the necessities and they are more on the luxuries, which in fact, it will affect their behaviors. Okay? Ngayon, sabi nila, technologies are considered to be luxuries, but cell phone nowadays is considered to be a necessity. Why? Because it is already one of the basic way of communication in our economy. Kaya nga sabi nila, kailangan may cellphone tayo para naman sa ganun kahit saang lupalop ng mundo ka naroon, you can still communicate with the others. Okay, that's why it is becoming already a necessity. And then we have also the others. When it comes to the other determinants, we could also consider the income of the people. That's why it is considered also part of the elasticity of demand. Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na income elasticity. Pero you notice on your modular learning materials, hindi ako nag-concentrate when it comes to solving the income elasticity because that will be part of your microeconomics if you will go further on the microeconomics. So, dito lang sa basic, I concentrated more on the demand at saka yung supply lang. Okay? Yan. So, we have, of course, the different applications dito ng ating elasticities as it is stated here. So, we have just a simple example. We have this one, a 10% increase in the price of an ice cream causes an amount of an ice cream to fall by 20%. So, makikita natin dito, 10% ang increase lang ng price, pero yung changes sa ating demand is 20%. So, that means mas mataas ang reaction or behavior ng mga tao. So, doon pa lang sa comparison ng dalawang ito, pwede mong masabi na elastic ba yung mga tao, inelastic ba sila, or ano. Diba? Pag sinabi natin meron naman tayong classifications ng elasticity, di ba? Pag elastic, very responsive ang mga tao. Kahit piso lang yung changes ng mga presyo, kung makapag-react yung mga tao, mas malaki sa piso na yon. Ha? Yeah, pag inelastic naman, ibig sabihin nun, lesser ang behavior or reaction ninyo. That means, even as simple, napakalaki yung binaba ng presyo, pero pag makapag-react yung mga tao, wala lang. Or konti lang yung mga changes nila. So, applicable ang inelastic behavior ng mga tao sa mga necessity goods. At saka applicable naman ang elastic behavior ng mga tao sa mga luxury goods. Kasi syempre, minsan lang tayo nakakapagbili ng luxury. Pag bumaba yung presyo nun, if possible, napakaraming tao ang bibili doon. Pero pag yung bigas ang bumaba, naku, okay lang, mas konti pa rin yung changes. Okay? It is because they know na kailangan yung mga yon, or we can still buy them even if the prices are increasing or decreasing. Hindi kagaya ng luxury, minsan lang nag-change yung mga presyo nila. So, ibig sabihin, pag once na nag-change yung mga prices na mga yon, malaki ang behavior ng mga consumers natin. Okay? Ganyan. So, when it comes to the comparison of the different elasticities, you always have to take note that they will only be observed when it comes to the market itself. Okay? Now, there is a problem when it comes to defining or describing a market. Sabi nila, a market will only be a place kung saan tayo makakapagbili ng mga kailangan natin. No. A market is always a place, anywhere, as long as there is an interaction between the buyer and a seller. Pag sinabi nating interaction, meron na tayong exchange at saka meron na tayong distribution. That means there is already a money involved. Kasi even if sinasabi natin a public market is a market, pero walang interaction ng buyer and seller doon, ang nandun lang is seller, so that place will never be considered a market if there is no interaction. How about a school? A school can also be a market as long as there is a buyer and a sellers who are interacting with one another. That means they are making a certain transaction itself. Okay? Yan. And then, of course, we have the time horizon. A time horizon will always affect the elasticity or the behavior of the people. That means, habang tumatagal ang panahon, nagiging responsive ang mga tao. Pero the shorter the time is, the lower day or the lesser ang ating behaviors. Okay? Now, there are two ways to solve your elasticities. We have the midpoint, or yung tinatawag ko kanina na point elasticity, and then the other one is the arc elasticity. Now, when it comes to the elasticities itself, these are the different ways na paano natin masasabi ang isang behavior natin, or on the graphical illustration, the elastic or the inelastic, o mga ganyan. Now, this one, the first graph here, this is considered to be elastic. Pag nagiging elastic, nagiging flatter siya. Pag inelastic, nagiging steeper. Ganyan. Okay? Pero pag diretso lang, ito naman, perfect inelastic yan. Or perfect elastic. That means, walang nagbabago sa presyo, pero pag makapagbili yung mga tao, walang hanggan. Bili pa rin sila ng bili the more that they're still buying. Pag inelastic naman, or perfectly inelastic, ito yung vertical. Okay? Ito yung mga products na nagbabago yung presyo, pababa man siya ng pababa or pataas man siya ng pataas, pero pag makapagbili yung mga tao, wala pa rin pagbabago. Example ng mga product na applicable dito is yung mga gamot. Kasi even if the prices of the medicines ay bumababa, yung mga tao pa rin, wala naman silang, aanhin naman nila yung gamot. They are only buying those if it is needed. Pero when it comes dito sa mga perfectly elastic, bihira lang naman yung mga products na applicable dito. Yung kahit hindi nagbabago yung price, pero yung makapagbili yung mga tao is walang hanggan. Pag kayo nakapagbigay ng example ng product na applicable dito, then I will exempt you on your midterm exam. If you will still give me a certain product na hindi man lang nagbabago yung price, pero the people, when it comes to buying, infinite pa rin ang buying behavior nila. Okay? Noon sabi nila, example of this one is yung salt daw. But the salt is never be part of the perfectly elastic. Kasi people that must be considered to be inelastic. Kasi ang salt naman is ginagamit natin when it comes to cooking, right? So therefore, even if the salt price are increasing little by little or decreasing little by little, the people will still buy the same amount. Kasi nga po, hindi naman po laging ginagamit yan. That's why it is not applicable dito sa perfectly elastic. But before, they are saying na it is part of this one. Now, for my class, I'm serious if you could actually give me a product applicable sa perfect elastic, then I will really exempt you on your midterm exam. Okay? Yan, challenge yan sa inyo. Ganyan. So, let's move on to the total revenue and then the price elasticity of demand. Ito naman is kailangan nyo ang mga to kasi you are going to need them if we are already on the product or the production and cost. Because in the production and cost, ang importante doon kasi, lalo na sa mga market structure, kailangan natin ng profit maximization. So therefore, dito, kailangan aware kayo what are those total revenues and the effect on the price elasticity. Okay? There. So, total revenue, of course, is this one. It is the product of the price times the quantity. And of course, how does the total revenue change as one moves along the demand curves? So, if we have the demand curve itself, do we have the demand curve here? No, we do not have. Now, if we have a demand curve will always be like this. A downward sloping one. Price ang ating Y. Quantity ang nasa ating x-axis. Now, ano ngayon ang mangyayari sa total revenue natin pag ito ay bumababa sa ating demand curve or pag ito ay tumataas sa ating demand curve? Now, here we have the definitions of here. Pag ang demand ay inelastic, ito, looking at the demand curve, we could consider it is inelastic because it is steeper. Pero, paano pag ang demand curve natin is ganyan lagi? Ibig sabihin, inelastic yan lagi. Now, if we have one demand curve, we could actually define the elastic and the inelastic. Okay? Na kung saan, pag nagsusolve tayo at yung biglang slope ng ating demand curve is biglang 1, then we could assume na nandito sa gitna. And that will be considered unitary. Pero pag above already the unitary, this is considered to be inelastic. And below that is considered to be elastic. Okay? Oh, I think I'm mistaken. Sorry, baliktad. Baliktad po tayo pala. Okay? Tama. Sorry ulit. Okay? Bakit ganon? Pag inelastic kasi pag alam yung mga, pag masyadong mataas yung mga presyo, alam natin kasi yung mga tao, wala naman silang pakialam sa masyadong mataas sa presyo pag consumer yan. Hindi kagaya ng mga producers. Pag mataas yung presyo, malaki ang impact sa kanila. If possible, benta sila ng benta. Okay? Ganyan po. Now, if demand is considered to be inelastic, ibig sabihin yan, pag konting increase lang yung presyo natin, tataas at tataas ang ating revenue. Pag inelastic yan. Okay, that means a certain product na, ilagay natin ulit yan sa gamot, no? Inelastic kasi ang behavior ng mga tao dyan. So, pag konting increase lang yung presyo ng gamot na yon, and then there are people na who only buys at a certain amount or minsan lang sila bumibili, mataas po or malaki po ang impact noon sa income ng mga producers. So tataas at tataas ang revenue ng mga producers doon. Pero pag ang isang product ay elastic at tumaas ang presyo, malaki po rin ang impact noon, bababa at bababa ang revenue. Kaya nga sabi nila, pag tumaas ang demand, tataas ang presyo. Of course, tataas. Gusto yan ng mga producer, tataas ulit yan. Pero pag tumaas ang producer, bababa ang presyo niyan. Okay? So, therefore, in the case of the elasticity and then the elasticity, inelastic pang demand, tataas ang presyo, tataas ang revenue. Pag elastic po yan, tataas ang presyo, bababa ang revenue. Tandaan yan. Okay? So, by this one, pwede nyo nang ma-observe kung bakit may mga producers na, bakit biglang nagtaas yung presyo ng mga producers na yan? Alam naman nila na ganito yung mga product, or bakit sa surplus, during shortage, bakit biglang taas, baba yung mga presyo? Kasi ang hinahabol ng ating mga producers is the revenue. Okay? So, may mga product na kahit gustong-gusto na mga tao, pero pag yan, elastic yan, bakit kaya biglang pag nag-increase yung mga presyo, bababa yung revenue? So, ano magiging reaction ng ating mga producer? If possible, hindi na. Okay? Ang mini-maintain nila is the revenue, because the revenue is considered to be a big impact or income yan sa kanila. Okay? Ganyan po ang resulta ng ating mga inelastic at saka elastic. So, tandaan natin, there are two results when it comes to the increase in the prices. Result for the demand inelastic, increase ang total revenue as long as yung changes ng quantity is mas mababa kumpara sa change ng presyo. Another result is, pag ang demand ay elastic, pag bababa ang total revenue naman, pag yung change ng quantity ay mas mataas kumpara sa change ng price. So, there, pag marami ang demand, akala mo tataas ang revenue mo pag itinaas mo yung presyo? Hindi po. Bababa at bababa ang total revenue nun. Okay? There. So, ito naman, in terms of the inelastic demand, makikita natin ang mga behaviors. There, it will be steeper. And in terms of the elastic, it will always be flatter. Okay? And in terms of this one, dito naman sa ating table ay graph on the other side, this will identify the elasticity and then elasticity pag iisa lang ang ating demand. Higher than this, prices would consider to be inelastic, while this one is considered to be elastic. Doon po natin ma-determine pag mag-isa lang ang ating demand curve. Pero pag paiba-iba na kagaya ng mga to, then you will see if it is considered to be elastic or inelastic. Madali lang malaman yan when it comes to graphical illustrations. Okay? And then look at also the revenue in terms of inelastic and then the elastic. Pag inelastic, this is the revenue. Itong shades na mga to. Okay? Pag elastic naman, ito yung mga revenue. So if you're going to compare to them, which one is bigger? Or saan ang mas mataas ang revenue? The inelastic or the elastic? It will always be the inelastic one. Okay? That has a higher revenue. Okay, now this will be the mathematical example of the revenue and then the demand curve. How to derive them? Simply as the mathematical concept na 1 times 1. So total revenue is just the price times the quantity. Now, the changes in the price and the changes in the quantity will now help you determine the elasticity. So, alam natin sa elasticity, higher than 1, greater than 1, greater than 1 is considered to be elastic. Ay, hindi na nakikita yung sinusulat ko. Higher than 1 is considered to be elastic. And then lower than 1 is considered to be inelastic. Pero pag nagsosolve kayo sa ating demand, negative lagi yan. Now, in terms of the demand, kasi negative lagi ang result, baka ang ibig sabihin niyo doon is laging inelastic. Hindi po. You will take the absolute number. That means you have to ignore the negative sign. Para naman sa ganun, ma-determine nyo kung ang demand na yon ay elastic or inelastic. Okay, so just ignore the negative sign and you will know already if those are considered to be inelastic or elastic. Okay, there. So that is in terms of the mathematical one. So if you have a problem in this one, then we will go over them later on. Okay, and then there. We have another kind of elasticity under the demand is we have the income elasticity. Ito naman yung klase ng elasticity is despite of the changes ng prices na nangyayari sa market, ano ang magiging behavior natin pag yung income naman natin ang nag-change? Alam natin or hindi natin maiiwasan yung pagtaas or pagbaba ng presyo. Pero ngayon, ang kailangan natin mag-behave kumpara naman ay kung ano ang meron tayo sa income. So therefore, the income elasticity is just an explanation of how do people react with the changes in their income. How many products are they going to buy if their income increases or if their income decreases? Okay? It is simply, in here, we are just distinguishing two kinds of goods. No, it's not two kinds, four kinds of goods. Okay, we have the normal goods, we have the inferior goods, we have the substitute goods, and we have the complement goods. Ang normal goods, masasabi mo ang isang product ay normal pag ang income mo ay tumataas, tapos yung quantity demand na binibili mo is tumataas. Usually, you could say lahat ng mga products na binibili natin is, yung mga usual na binibili natin is considered to be normal goods. Okay? While yung inferior goods, kabaliktaran. Tumataas yung income mo, imbis na bibili ka ng marami sa product na yun, kaso bumababa naman yung quantity na binibili mo doon. Ngayon, ang normal goods at saka inferior goods naman ay magkakaiba in terms of cultures. Let's say, for example, pumunta tayo sa mga western part or mga eastern part, yung mga tao na ganyan. Ang normal goods sa atin ay inferior goods sa kanila. Ang inferior goods sa atin naman is normal goods. So let's say, for example, yung mga fast foods. Sa mga fast foods, kumpara sa ating mga Filipino, especially a typical Filipino family, the fast foods are considered to be normal goods sa kanila. Kasi pag tumaas ang income nila, mas gusto nilang i-treat yung mga family nila to eat there. Kahit kunwari ilagay natin sa McDonald's or mga Jollibee, di ba? Pag tumaas ang income ng mga parents, mga ganyan, they are going to treat their children on those kinds of fast foods. Pero sa mga, ilagay natin sa mga Americans or mga Europeans, hindi po, inferior goods sa kanila yon. Pag tumaas ang income nila, pag iiwanan nila yung mga fast food na yon, they're going to prefer another good. So that's why it is considered inferior goods sa kanila yon. Now, sa atin, ang inferior good is, we could say, ilagay natin ang steak. Kasi ang mga Filipinos, pag kukunti yung mga income nila, bakit mas prefer nila yung minsan lang sila nakapag ng isang income, malaking income, tapos if possible, on the fast food. Pero pag biglang kukunti ang kanilang income, one person would prefer to buy a steak. But that steak is considered to be an inferior. But if you are considered to be an European or an American, that steak is considered to be normal goods sa kanila. Okay? Ganun po ang pagkakaiba ng normal goods at saka inferior goods. A candy is considered to be a normal or an inferior? Ano sa tingin nyo? Ang candy. Naku! Tignan ko nga kung still alive yung mga taong ito. Oy, Manawis, alive ka ba dyan or hindi? Ay, naku, sabi ko na nga ba, dadalak ako ng dada dito na wala akong nakikinig eh. Oh, Miss Ilar, what do you think? Is the candy considered to be a normal good or an inferior good? If you will have an allowance of 50 pesos nung una, tapos biglang tinataas ng magulang mo kada 50 pesos every day, are you going to buy more of the candy? Are you? O ikaw, anak, pag binigyan kita ng maraming allowance every day, bibili ka at bibili ng maraming candy or hindi? No. So, by that means, yes, so a candy is considered to be an inferior good. How about ladies? How about your napkins? Do you consider it a normal good or do you consider it an inferior good? Normal. That means if I will give you allowance every day, you're going to buy more of the napkin. So you see, so you have to define your normal goods and inferior goods on the way you behave. Kung paano kayo mag-behave na mga yon. So if I will give you one of your activity or a special activity on your what do you call this one, sa inyong Moodle is merong ganon. If you're going to define a normal goods and inferior goods, at saka substitute, at saka complement. So ngayon, sasagutan niyo yon based on how you behave. Paano mo masasabi na normal goods yan or paano mo masasabi na inferior goods. Now, I put it as, nakahidden pa yon, special activity yon kasi, syempre, a person has a different normal goods and a person different or another person has a different normal goods. That's why it is considered to be an special activity kasi yung pag-check ko doon is kahit na i-check yun ng inyong Moodle, i-check ko yun pa rin personally because a certain person, sabi ko nga, magkakaiba ang normal goods natin sa ibang tao. Okay? So we have, of course, the example of your normal goods there at saka yung mga inferior goods. Now, we have another kind of elasticity, yung cross-price elasticity. Ito naman, pinagkukumpara natin yung iba't ibang product. So, meron tayong dalawang classification ng product dito, yung substitute at saka yung complement. Itong klaseng elasticity is kung paano naman mag-behave yung mga tao sa isang product kumpara sa pag-change ng presyo ng isang product. Kaya pwede nating masabi na substitute yon or complement. Pag substitute, alam nyo yan kasi those are the goods na pwede mong palitin kahit nawala yung isa. Pero ang complement naman, hindi po ganon. Ang complement goods kasi, hindi mag-work yung isa pag wala yung isa. Kaya nga sabi natin, hindi pwedeng masabi yung adobo na adobo pag wala yung pares niya soy sauce, di ba? Or hindi pwedeng umandar yung isang sasakyan pag wala yung pares niya na si driver. Ganon. But nevertheless, sabi nga nila kahit may driver, basta may oil daw, a certain car can move because of the technology. That's why it is considered to be ang kakomplement talaga ng sasakyan is yung oil daw. Okay? But if you're going to look at in our situation, I would still say that the kakomplement pa rin ng ating mga sasakyan is the driver itself. A teacher also is considered to be, not considered to be a teacher pag wala yung student, kaya kakomplement niya yung student niya. Okay? Now, yung substitute, pasasabi mo ng isang product ay substitute pag kunwari, ang presyo ng product A ay tumaas, syempre, yung mga tao bibili ng konti lang sa product A na yon. Tapos, bakit yung biglang yung product B, tumaas yung quantity niya? Ibig sabihin, kasubstitute yun ni product A. Pag bumaba yung presyo ni product A, bababa ang quantity ni product A. Pero pag si product B tumaas ang quantity niya, automatically, kasubstitute po yun ni product A. Doon yung madedetermine ng isang product pag substitute siya or hindi. Okay? Pagka-complement naman, pag yung presyo ng product A ay bumaba, syempre pag consumer, bababa ang quantity na bibilhin mo doon sa product A. Tapos bigla nakita mo si product B, bumaba din ang quantity ng product B na yun. Automatically, they are considered to be complement. Kasi, for example, pag tumaas ang presyo ng mga gasolina, yung mga serbisyo ng ating mga sasakyan, bababa yun. Okay? Pag ngayon, pag ikaw marami kang sasakyan, ang kailangan mo is maraming driver. So, pag bumaba yung mga drivers na kinakailangan mo, that means magka-substitute talaga, ay magka-complement talaga yung dalawang yun. Okay? Pag kinukumpara natin sa arrow, pag si product A, bumaba yung presyo, yung quantity B, dapat tataas yung quantity niya. These are considered to be substitute. Okay? Pag complement, pag yung presyo ni product A ay bumaba, tapos biglang si quantity B, yung quantity niya ay bumaba, then these are considered to be complement. Doon yung makikita yung isang substitute at saka complement. If you're going to look at on the arrow, yung mga arrow nila. Pag opposite yung arrow, then substitute. Pag the same, then they are considered to be complement. So, yun po ang ating iba't ibang elasticities under the demand. So, if you have a questions or problems on that, then you may raise them already. Okay? Now, on the elasticity of supply, I think, what time is it? Oh, I have a class next, so I can still, now in terms of I will just summarize the elasticity of supply. Now, in terms of the elasticity of supply, magkaparehas lang naman po yun sa demand. Okay? Ang pagkakaiba lang nila is, that is only the behavior of the producers. Okay? Pero magkaiba naman ang kanilang mga determinants. Pag sinabi natin determinants, yung mga factors na pwede makapag-affect sa kanila. Okay? Ngayon, sa elasticity of supply, ang pinaka-importante sa kanila is the time period. That's why in terms of maximization of cost at saka maximization of profit pala at saka minimization of cost, ang lagi nilang tinitignan is the time period. If possible, pag ako ay isang producer, mas gusto ko na mag-produce sa short-term period kaysa sa long-term period. 'Di ba? Na nakita natin sa total revenue effect na pag inelastic yung demand, mas malaki ang revenue. So ibig sabihin, short-term period 'yon. Okay, pero pag ang total revenue ay pag elastic ang demand, ang total revenue mas kokonti ang kanilang revenue. So therefore, we could say that that is a longer period. So pag ako ay isang producer, mas gusto ko mag-produce sa isang short-term period. Kasi alam ko mas mataas ang makikita ko na income doon. That's why it is very important sa kanila. Okay? Now, in terms of specific period naman, pag specific period ang pinag-uusapan natin sa elasticity, mas gusto nila ang elastic. Okay? But, of course, that is only applicable with those products na ilagay natin dito sa mga luxury products na produce ng mga producers. Okay? Mas gusto nila yung mga yon elastic kasi they know that people will react on those products. But if you're going to look at on this one, you see here, supply is usually more elastic in the long run, and then supply is inelastic in the short run. That's why they prefer to produce in the short run. Now, makikita natin kung bakit mas gusto nila yan pag nabasa nyo na yung mga iba't ibang market structure. Now, I have also a discussion on those market structure, and then you will also see kung bakit mas gusto ng mga producers natin. Ngayon, lalong-lalo na sa mga fourth years na gumagawa ng kanilang feasibility. So, be very careful when it comes to pag pumipili kayo ng mga products na gusto ninyong i-produce. Kasi may mga products na akala nyo is very feasible, pero pag binigay nyo sa accountant nyo, bakit ganito, biglang bakit mababa ang nakuha na income payment ng inyong accountant? It is because yung product nyo is hindi siya elastic or pwedeng inelastic siya, kaya nakadepende doon yung income nyo. Kaya ito rin ang nakikita nyo pag kayo ay sa mga estudyante na kumukuha ng kanilang feasibility. Okay? Because time period sa mga business, you will be a producer here, hindi kayo consumer. Kaya pag mag-iisip kayo, tandaan nyo yung period. Importante ang period nyo when it comes to making your own businesses. Okay? Ganyan. Now, for this one, for the elasticity, the same pa rin, makikita natin, I will still, if you are going to this, I think this one is the 11 to the 14th slide. So these are still the different formulas that you're going to use. Parehas pa rin sa demand. We have the arc elasticity and then the midpoint. Mas gusto ko kasi yung arc elasticity kasi pag sinabi nating arc elasticity, we could actually make a difference or make a definitions on the whole curve pag may changes or your behavior. Pero pag kasi midpoint, parang eto lang point na to at etong point lang ang ini-explain natin na explanation ng midpoint. Hindi kagaya ng arc elasticity. Pag sinabi natin arc elasticity, yung result niya, for example, is meron tayong 2. That is already elastic. That means the whole curve is considered to be elastic. Any changes that happens on this one, sa between ng dalawang point na to is elastic. Pero pag midpoint, hindi mo pwedeng masabi na yung between this point up to that point ay elastic. Hindi po, kasi sabi ng midpoint, etong point lang na ito at saka yung point lang na ito ang elastic. Hindi kasali po yung nasa gitna. Okay, yun po yung pagkakaiba lang ng ating midpoint at saka yung arc elasticity. Okay, ganun po siya. Now, we have here an example. May example din naman ako sa modular ninyo eh. Now, wala tayong problema when it comes to determining elastic and inelastic sa supply kasi positive lahat yung values na makukuha nyo dito, hindi kagaya ng demand. Okay? Kung bakit positive lahat ang values na nakukuha natin sa supply, kasi nga po, pag ako ay isang producer, kayo ay isang producer, mas gusto nyo yung mataas na presyo kaysa sa yung mababang presyo. Pag producer ka, syempre, is the more the prices are increasing, the more products you're going to produce and sell. Okay? Ganyan. So kayo na nag-feasibility din or mag-feasibility sooner, pag tinanong kayo tinanong kayo ng isang panel, bakit ganito ang presyo nyo, bakit mataas? Syempre, you have to defend it. You are a producer. If possible, you have to take note of the prices. Kailangan po na mataas ang presyo kasi ang presyong ito, babayaran niyo pa yung mga cost na ginastos ninyo, Mga ganyan. At saka yung mga iba't iba pang gagastusin nyo na pagbayad nyo sa mga income ng mga tao, ganyan. So therefore, you have to take note of the higher prices. Hindi kagaya kasi ng demand, if possible, they want a lower prices. Kaya pag kayo nagsusurvey, bakit yung mga nag-a-answer ng mga survey nyo, mas gusto nila ang lower price? Demanders ang mga yun eh. Consumers. So, syempre, kahit anong presyo ang ilagay nyo doon, pipiliin nila yung lower price. Kaya pag kayo dapat gagawa ng questionnaires, is yung pinakamababa yung presyo dapat is ito yung presyo nyo na gusto nyong i-price sa product. Para naman sa ganon, if they're going to choose, that is the price that they're going to choose. Remember, demanders will always choose the lower price. Ganyan po when it comes to making your own feasibility. Okay? Hindi ako nagtuturo ng feasibility. I'm just giving you a hint. Okay? Yan. And here, of course, are the different varieties of the supply curves to determine if they are elastic or inelastic. Parehas pa rin. Pag, my dear two children, quiet there. Pag perfectly inelastic, ito horizontal. Pag perfectly elastic is yung vertical. Ay, horizontal. Ay, titignan nyo yan. Hindi ko alam mag-determine. Ito, vertical. Etong perfect elastic is yung horizontal. Okay? This one is considered to be elastic. If it will be on the flatter area, elastic. Pag steeper area, it is considered to be inelastic. Kaya makikita nyo dito steeper yan, so less than 1. It is inelastic. Ito, flatter, greater than 1, that's why it is considered to be elastic. Okay? Pero pag isang curve ulit yan, or ayan, sa different curves, pag ganito yung itsura, that is considered to be inelastic kasi medyo steeper siya. Pag supra kasi pag elastic, ganyan dapat. Okay? So that's how you determine your different elasticities. And we have still the 3-1. This is the last slide already. Now, this one is considered to be pag unitary elastic, ibig sabihin parehas yung change ng price at saka quantity. Hindi ibig sabihin na price nag-change yung price ng piso, mag-change yung quantity ng piso. Hindi po yan considered hindi po yan considered unit elastic. You will only consider it unit elastic pag 1% change is the same with the 1% change in the quantity. Kasi an 11 and a 1 could be considered to be the same if we are referring to percentage. Pero pag in terms of absolute, hindi sila magkaparehas. 1 and 11 will never be the same. But in terms of percentage, they may be the same. Okay? Ganyan po. So this one is considered to be the perfect elastic. And this one is considered to be elastic. Okay? So I think that is the last or the elasticity concepts that we had today. So this one, we have still a minute na naiiwan for your questions. So you may open already your speakers if you want to ask a question. Because this is only the time that you could ask a question sa akin na nakikita nyo ako. Kahit pag hindi siya related sa ating discussion is pwede pa rin. I could still answer the questions. Kasi this is the only time that I could give you an answer directly. In terms kasi sa mga pag chinachat nyo ako is after 2 days, 3 days ko nakikita yan. So do you have questions, my beloved students?
Ma'am, ako po.
O, sino ka?
Miss LR.
Okay, yes, Ilarlar.
Ma'am, regarding din sa
Okay, Moodle.
ma'am, kasi sa
O, ngayon, authority. Yes. Ako lang talaga yon. Tapos ano yun? Baka. Yes. And then another one is kung bakit hindi pumasok. Kasi pag nakikita natin meron kami kasi sa aming screen or on our account, nakikita namin doon yung attempts. Kung anong araw kayo nag-attempt, anong oras kayo nag-attempt, nandun po lahat sa aming account. Ang problem, wala akong nakita sa'yo, hindi ka nag-attempt. So therefore, it's either nag-attempt ka pero hindi mo, meron kasi kayong submit button doon at saka kailangan yung i-confirm. Kaya doon tayo siguro nagkakaproblema. Bakit kahit nasabihin mo na nag-submit ka, pero bakit sa aking account, wala talaga akong makita na attempt mo? So, kaya nga sabi ko, sana kung nandun ka kahapon para pumunta tayo sa MIS at saka ipakita natin yung account ko sa account mo para naman sa ganun, masagutan din nila. Kasi binuksan ko talaga yung activities natin. Binuksan ko siya, except exam, hindi ko binuksan yung exam. Ay, nag-end lahat yung activities nung 19. Nasagutan mo, hindi pa ako nag-check. Hindi, pero hindi pa ako nag-check ngayon. Other questions? Don't worry, I will check that and I will inform you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
No worries. About the others? Parang late ka monte ah. Ay, apo. How about the others? Any questions? Magtanong kayo kasi ito lang yung time nyo na pwede nyo akong tanungin. Sabagay, madali lang kasi yung activity nyo, no? Kaya wala kayong tanong. Titignan ko nga pag kayo napunta sa calculus, pag hindi nyo nasagot yung calculus ko, ika-calculate ko kayo. Okay, so before you end up, you have to go back to your Moodle, click the link of your Zoom, and please mark on the attendance sheet. Kasi doon natin makikita if you attended. Ngayon, ako naman is, nakita ko naman kung sino nag-attend. Pero you have also to make a mark on your Moodle account.